Like is it warm there too?
It's warm. Yeah, we're about 88 here. So,
Oh, wow. Nice.
yeah. Oh, I think we're live. We're here. Hello, everybody. Welcome
Hello.
to Workshop Wednesday. We have Kara with us today. I know you guys are like, where's Lori? What happened to Lori? Lori gave me the reins to run Workshop Wednesday. So be afraid. Be very afraid. Uh, I'm excited. I'm very excited because I was a stager, designer, business owner for 10 years. So I get the honor of running today's Workshop Wednesday with one of our summit speakers. We wanted you to just be introduced to her. She's amazing. You guys just wait. She's going to share just a little bit of what she's about to bring to the table to our big dinner at Summit. So be ready. So I'm going to introduce Kara, and I'm going to let Kara tell us a little bit about herself and about her business and just what we need to know just to get to know you a little bit better.
Super. So, you want me to talk now or?
Yeah, yeah, go
Okay.
ahead.
So Dawn, thanks so much for having me. This is a great pleasure, and I'm happy. I hope that there's nice, good value for everybody. My background is I've been doing staging and interior design for 12 years. Started my company just myself, solopreneur, then grew one employee, then all the way now we're up to five, and really felt there was so much value. I have to say this. I really was just like this solo player until I joined HSRA, and then I learned all these tricks and all the steps to do to get out of the solopreneur and into what I'm now phasing into the how do I phase out and how do I go on to the next thing, which is going to be some real estate investing. So super excited about that path. And so that's kind of my background, right? Before that, I was in consulting. This is I think a lot of us have second careers, right? So this is my second or third career, and it's finally the one that I really enjoy. I've always liked business, and I like being an entrepreneur. That's really how I think of myself, and I've kind of combined all those things that I did in my past into one thing. So nice journey, right? I'm also a educator, so I teach for the Academy of Home Staging and Design. So that's a 6-day course, and we teach students all about how to start your business, right? And then how to do staging and design. So that's my brief intro.
I love that. Thank you. I'm excited about partnering with you with the interior staging and design company. I'm really anxious to take part in that and to just be a part of that as well. So today like I said, we are just going to give everybody a few bites into what the big dinner is going to be at Summit, what it is that you're going to talk about. We want to get everybody at Summit. We want to get them in the room. But what can you share with us today that's going to be kind of over the topic that you're going to cover at Summit? What are you planning on talking about? And then give us just a little bit of just a little taste / teaser so that everybody kind of knows what value you truly bring to the table, because we see it. I want them to see it and why they should be in a seat so they can hear the rest of the story and what's going to happen.
Sure. Well, what I'm hoping the value is that I've taken a company from one service, which is staging. And I think all of us or many of us start right there, and then exploded it into 5 very distinct different services. And the outcome of that is that my clients so the clients, I think of my client as the realtor and also the client that they're serving, right? They have the ultimate good experience. And the reason for that is that we've sort of cloned ourselves or dubbed ourselves as a one-stop shop, right? Call us and we'll handle all of your issues for you around home prep for sale and then also design. So there are 5 different, and people like that for several reasons. One of them is we work in the luxury industry, and a lot of luxury clients, they value time. They don't want to do it themselves. They would love to pay you to do it. And they like to have somebody, they like to know that who's ever making the decisions is making the right decisions, and they really don't need to get involved. And so it really hits a sweet spot that we we specialize in the luxury industry. So that's kind of how it was born also. Our clients were saying to us, well, okay, I want to stage my house, but how do I get rid of my Persian rugs? And where do I put my antiques? And how do I get rid of all my junk? And da 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 da. So from that was born what we call our concierge department. And our concierge department is really just a coordinator of all of those pieces, right? So we have connections with online auctions, shredders, dumpsters. What else do they have? Anything to do, I guess, auctions on different levels, right? So low end, all the way up to Doyle's and Sotheby's and those things. So we can help them. We tag things, and then we can help them figure out, well, how are they going to get rid of it? Very easy, simple service. And they love that. And they also make, we just had a client who did an auction, an online auction. They made 40 grand. And you know what they said to me is, you know what? The 40 grand is great, but what I really love is that everything just walked out the door. I didn't have to pay somebody to actually come and pick it up. Okay. So that's our first win. That's our first happy client. And that process is super emotional. So oftentimes, yes, could they do it? But it's very helpful for them to have somebody next to them, helping them figure out, what should I do with these? Or maybe somebody died and you have to help them get their husband's clothes out of the closet. It's really what we have also found in that is a double whammy in that, yes, we're helping them get rid of things, but we're also helping them. And that feels so good. Like, it's a nice day. We just left a client, and one of our team members said to me, like, I just feel so happy that I can help her. So double win, right? So that's how one was developed. And the second was, okay, now we've got all the stuff out, but the house has not been, it's been neglected. It has the wrong colors. The lighting is bad. The colors are bad. The floors need to be done. Whatever it is, maybe the cabinets or the kitchen cabinets are getting painted and we're going to put new hardware in. So we have a service that works on an hourly basis, and we just pick all those things for them. We put together a proposal, we update it and tell them what we think the expense will be, so that they have a full scope of all of these things. And then they can pick and choose, almost like an a la carte, what they want to do. And they love that service, right? Because then the next piece is, we're going to stage it. Well, it's not going to look good unless we've done these other pieces. We can't stage it until we get these other things done. So all of that helps us it helps the client, but it also helps us to control the outcome. Because at the end of the day, we all know it's our name on that design. And if it looks great, it looks great. But if we had to cut corners and nobody else knows why we had to cut corners, all that realtor knows that comes and sees it is that, well, that's not such a great job, right? If we didn't get to control it. So I like it from that side, because we can control the outcome better of the look, right? And really, as we all know, staging is marketing. So it doesn't need to, the client may or may not like it, but we know that it's going to sell. It's going to work for the selling side of it. So that's those three departments or services. And then we have interior design. So what comes from a lot of our jobs is the client says, oh my gosh, I love this. I'm sure you had this, Dawn, right? With your company, like, could you come to my house and make it look like this? My next house, could you come and could you make it look like this? Sure, we can do that. No problem. Or the neighbor comes, and then so it organically grows that way. And then the other piece that we do is turnkey rentals. So like, I know you guys might call them like short-term rentals or like an Airbnb, but we have a lot of people who are, so I'm out of Connecticut, and we have a lot of people maybe from Manhattan, and they have, second homes, their second, third homes, and they don't want to furnish them. They just want to arrive with their luggage, especially during COVID. We had a lot of that. People were just buying houses sight unseen. And then we would furnish it, put towels in it, outdoor furniture, put a grand piano, trampoline, whatever they want. All services, each one of those services, except for the staging, is an hourly service that's billable. So it's also a good moneymaker. Like, yes, I want my clients all to be happy and I want to do good service for them, but I also want to have a profitable business. So all of these side services come from the staging. They root in staging. We already know how to do design. We already know how to talk to clients. This is just an extension of that, and it helps us to control it. So it also helps us when staging is slow. Like staging is slow where I am in like November, December, or sometimes in the summer. Well, guess what? In November, December is when everybody wants to ramp up how their house looks. So we start doing specials on design, things like that. Oh, let's zhuzh your house up for the holidays. This isn't like getting it ready with the Christmas tree or anything. This is just fixing it up. So it helps my team to have steady work throughout the year and not have gaps. One supports the other.
I love that. There is ebb and flow, and I think I began to realize a couple years in what my seasons were when I was going to be heavy with staging. And then around the holidays, I knew that from probably October on, things would begin to slow down. And so, and you're right, that's how I developed into the design side, was clients saying, hey, I want you to come and I want you to do this at my house. And, or I love the paint color. Can you come and recommend paint colors for my new home?
Mm-hmm.
So it kind of evolves into that. So I'm gonna backtrack to kind of the first set of services that you said that you offer. I love that everything's under one umbrella, and it is a one-stop shop. I know people love the idea of a one-stop shop. I know that that's how my business grew so quick, is that I didn't have to keep referring them out for anything. Like I had the resources right at my fingertips, and I connected and I did kind of that back side of work for them, and then I just presented them with what we could do.
Yeah.
So one of the biggest questions I always got, and I know that somebody out there might have, is when you go in and you have a client, let's start from the beginning, and say they do have those antiques or those Persian rugs. They have some things that you know are not going to fit the aesthetic of how to sell the house. You've got to get them out, but you're right, it's personal. And I don't know about you, but I had clients that would start crying as they walked me through their home. Whether it was good or bad, it is emotional. It's very emotional.
Yep.
I just sold my home I raised my kids in a couple months ago, and I bawled my eyes out. As soon as I saw the video the realtor sent me, I cried, and it's a happy cry, but it's also a very emotional time. So
Absolutely.
how does that conversation go? How do you explain to them that you value the antique piece or the rug that maybe has been passed down for generations? Maybe they don't want to sell it per se in an auction, but you have to do something with it. Or there's items that need to go to auction. So how do you, in a sensitive way, how does that conversation go? What do you
Well, that's a delicate dance, right? And I think it depends. What I have found the best method is twofold. One of them is a couple of the brokers and realtors that I work with are really good at stating up front, like, what is the purpose here? If we're going to be staging, here's what you're going to need to do. And they set the groundwork for me. So a lot of times I don't have to do it, like, depending on the realtor, I don't have to do as much work because they've sort of blazed the trail. And then I come in secondary. And what I find is the really good realtors are not afraid to have those conversations. And that's one of the reasons that I like to work with top 5% realtors. I don't feel we need to have 80 realtors that we work with. And I know everybody has their own model. Some are volume, some are not. I'm not a volume. I'm luxury industry, and we have a slower. We don't have as we're not volume. But what we are is I like to have maybe 10 to 20 realtors that we work with that are top of the line. They know how to blaze that trail. That's A. If they haven't blazed the trail, the second one is I try, before I say any comments, any suggestions, I say to them, let's sit down. I just want to explain to you. I don't know like what you've heard about staging. Can you tell me what you know, right? And that'll give you a little bit of an idea of, okay, where do we begin? Maybe they're like, listen, I totally get it. I don't care. Just show me what we need to get rid of. Okay, great. Right. Or I just have seen it on HGTV. Looks great. Then you're like, okay, we really need to discuss. But I tried to say to them that this is marketing. This is not interior design. You may or may not like it, but what you have to do is know that I'm a partner with your realtor, and we have a formula, and we know how to make it work. Part of it, their part is they're going to price it and they're going to sell it. Like they're going to market it. They're marketing and sales. And my side is I make it look right. And when all three are done the right way, then there's a lot of success. And that usually comes out in timing and price, right? And I guess that's it. Just like explaining that I tell them we have to get rid of anything red, anything green. All of it has to go. Like everything needs to be neutral. That's the whole look. It's just like if you go to a store, if you go to Restoration Hardware and there's like a look you're buying into, that's what we're trying to create. And that seems to be helpful. And then, I also say that whatever I say to you, this is nothing to do with your taste. If we went to my house, we'd have to get rid of things. It's just there's a difference between how you live and how you sell.
That's great.
I mean, I did have somebody cry once too. I mean, it happens. But hopefully if you can it's that time up front.
Yeah.
Helps them to not feel it's personal. I also like to try to go just myself. I used to have my team go with me sometimes because it's just faster for us, like if we all can see it at once. But I decided that's not so fun for somebody to have like 4 other women going through their house and me telling them what we need to change. That puts them on the defense. So I think one-on-one is helpful.
That's a great observation. I'm glad that you said something about that. It is very personal. The first contact is very personal. So it probably does just need to be either you, the business owner, or whoever, if you're phase 3, you've trusted in that position to have that real raw conversation that has to happen in the very beginning, no matter if it's staging or design, selling the home. It's a conversation that can get uncomfortable, but it has to be said. And it's, it's the elephant in the room that is going to be addressed, and you have to be the one to address it.
Yeah.
So that's actually really, really good. And I love that you're right. It's a delicate dance in talking with people, but just listen to them. Sometimes they just want you to listen to the story. Right. And then you just remind them that they need to trust you. They need to trust the process, because your goal is actually their goal in the very end.
Right.
And so and sometimes I never had a client that deterred from that when I said, look, what's your end goal in all of this emotion and all of this? My end goal is to sell this house. You tell me what your end goal is. And it's always the same answer. It's the same answer. And so,
right.
It's like, we're going to figure this out together, but you have to trust me because this is my goal and I'm going to make it happen.
Right.
So that's that's actually really, really good. So let's go. The next topic is how you said that you took your team at the very beginning and you kind of introduced them into a house. You took a step back and realized that wasn't the best move. So what did you do and how did you start to increase your team's skill level?
So what I did is so everybody starts in staging because staging is like the core. And then the next thing they start to do is learn the concierge piece, because the concierge piece is, more organizing things, right? And then they go into project management. And most of the time they just shadow. They'll just shadow on a job. Like anything new, they just come along. There's a little bit of training involved and it takes a while, but they just shadow and see everything, every email, every whatever I do, I send along to them. And then they now I have an expert in each department. And so if anybody new comes along, or actually what we're doing now is I say, okay, we're all going to put down exactly what we do. And then I want you to have somebody that you train so that if you are out or you are wherever, or we have a backup. And that means that everybody's covered. So that's how we're doing our training.
That's actually really good. I mean, that's a great idea. And I did something very similar as well. It was more walking alongside me, and then that person began to promote themselves internally, and the next person we brought in began they were the one that the new person shadowed. And so they began. So it's developing that process where you want to start them. Staging is always a great a start. I mean, as far as getting them in a room with the actual tangible items and saying, okay, let's work this puzzle together and
Right.
let's create this piece together, and listening. And, sometimes I'd step back and say, okay, I know what I would do, but it doesn't mean that what you would do is wrong. You might have a great idea too. So I want you to show me what you would do with this room.
Right. It's so
And
subjective.
it
Right.
is. It's so, and so those are just great ways for people to be introduced and how you begin to bring your team in. So
Yeah. And I think interior design is kind of the last step that we do because, as you know, it's so much more complicated and there's so much more client interaction and systems work and budgeting and staging. There is no client involved. I mean, other than like I go with one other team member and we get the deals, then pass it off to the team and they execute the deals or the jobs. So there's no client really for them to deal with. So that's why I feel like staging is really good. They get their hands in there, they get the design sense. Why are we doing things the way we're doing? And then they launch into these other things. So it's really not that complicated because
yeah.
it's all in the wheelhouse to begin with.
Well, and get to know your team, because I know I had certain team members that staging was their niche because they needed and they enjoyed and loved the ever evolving slash done in a day
Yeah,
feeling.
love
They
it.
loved the concept of I'm going to pull this and I'm going to have it done and it's all done in a day.
Mhm.
Um, and then I knew I had team members, and this wasn't for everybody. A design project could take 6 months to 2 years. I mean, it's not done in a day. And
Mm-mm.
so, it just isn't, and it takes time, it takes patience. It's definitely a different boat, different hat to wear. And so finding in my team as I got to know them who was the best fit where.
Yeah.
Um,
Yes.
and the nice thing is that if somebody was gone, if somebody was out sick, I had a designer that could fill in for the stager. And then if I had a designer gone, then the stager could probably help me on the back side of things in the office. So I could step up and go fill in for that designer that was sick.
Oh, that's a good
And
idea.
so it was the cross training always happened, but then it was me saying, okay, this is where I find is the best fit for you. And everybody has their own strength. And so
Yeah. Yeah.
if you, as you get to know me, you'll hear me say, I've said it at Summit the last 6 years that I've spoke. I love analogies. I'm a big analogy person. I think it's because I have a son who's on the autism spectrum. Sometimes you just got to give that black and white picture. This is my analogy.
Yeah.
And so for me, it was to my team, I might not be the quarterback. I might be the coach. You might be the quarterback, but you will not succeed and you will get tackled if we don't have your back. We have to run together as a team.
Right.
Otherwise, and so you may think that, Susie's the star of the show today, and that might be so. She might be the quarterback, but she will not succeed and she will not be the quarterback if it wasn't for us. And
Right.
so the coach has to call the plays and the team has to have her back so she doesn't get tackled.
Right.
So
Right. That's
it,
great.
it's always just explaining to my team the importance of a team and how everybody will have their own role.
Yes.
And so just a few tips there. I
That's
go on
great.
tangents at Summit because I love talking about stuff like this. So
There's just a lot of layers to the whole process. There's the job, there's the team, there's the motivation, and it's a lot of pieces.
there's a lot of pieces and there's a lot. I mean, staging and design is ever evolving and there's always things that change. There's always keeping up with the industry.
Mhm.
We know as stagers that the market, well, everybody knows the market has taken a turn and it's kind of twisted. And so here we go again, right? a year, 2 years ago, we were having to figure out what COVID was and how we're going to survive through it. And then all of a sudden, stagers had to learn how to survive the hottest market that houses didn't even stay on the market. They didn't even make it to the market because realtors had people in a waiting line,
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
have, so they weren't even, our phones weren't ringing for a lot of stages because the houses just were selling like hotcakes.
Yeah.
And now here we are, houses are going to sit longer. The market's taken a turn. So all that to say, not to be afraid of it, but this is where HSRA and Summit is great, is that you and I, Kara, can say, through all of this, we have helped each other figure out how are we going to get through this next year?
Oh,
What
for
are you
sure.
doing? And
Yeah.
then whatever you're doing, I might not necessarily copycat it, but I'm going to take it and implement it in my own way and apply it to my industry and my market here in Kansas. You're going to do it for Connecticut.
Mm-hmm.
So it's never to discourage people, but it's always just let's give these takeaways to each other. And
Mm-hmm.
let's figure out how to keep our market and our industry strong for stagers and designers.
Yeah.
And have each other's backs. Like
I agree.
it's such an honor to have each other's backs and to have that relationship.
Yeah.
Um,
No, it's a wonderful alliance that you all have developed for
so,
sure.
so tell me before we kind of do some closing thoughts. I want to know what your thoughts are on Summit. I can't talk enough about Summit, and obviously, people can't tell me I'm trying to sell tickets to Summit because I work for HSRA, because I can show them pictures where I was at Summit as a business owner solo, 7 years ago. And then I would bring my entire team up until 2 years ago. So
Yeah.
I'm a firm believer in Summit. I will sell tickets all day long to Summit if I could, because I always took away something from Summit.
Yeah.
No matter what phase I was in, I always took away something from Summit. Even those years I was really tired and I was like, oh, I really could just do this instead. And then I don't know, I just felt led to get to Summit. And boy, did I not regret it. I was fed. So tell me your experience.
My experience. So I remember going to a networking event and I ran into Birgit, and she told me, "Oh, I'm gonna go to I've been to this thing called Summit. You should go." I read a book they sent, and I was like, "Oh, okay," but I had not gone. So the first time I went to the warehouse tour, and I sat next to Kim Dombrowski. I think it's Dombrowski, yeah. And we just got to talking, and she said, "You're not going to believe what you're going to learn here." And I said, "Really?" I wasn't sure. And she was right. And I think the secret sauce of HSRA is that, it just comes from very relatable. Uh, you just don't feel nobody's talking over you, but you also feel you're in the presence of something that's really grand. And like Jana, Roy, all of you just have gone through it already and just have a great way of, like, I just know that they're just going to take it all and make it work for me and simple, right? Just take the nuggets and make them make sense to me and put them in order. So I like that. I know it's going to be efficient, right?
Yes.
I know who's kind of becoming is going to be someone that's a leader, an author of this or that, somebody that I'm going to probably follow, and get some great information from. And I think also I like that it's very business relatable. I think most of us who go, I don't know if this is true. You could probably tell me, Dawn, but I feel like most people who go are established business owners. And I know I really needed to know, like, oh, I could add people and I could be doing this. And then what's the next steps after that? And I didn't even know the process. I didn't know the chain. And so I was introduced to that. And now I've grown my business. Like, really, I started with one person, and then I went to Summit, and now I have 5 on my team. Not that having the numbers is really like the goal, but I don't think I could have grown it if I didn't read the books that Jana told me to read and follow the things they said. And I can't speak on highly enough about it. And I look forward to it every year.
That's
So
awesome. I am too. I'm looking forward to it. There's always a takeaway. Um, last year when I attended Summit, I was in the middle of determining whether I was going to dissolve my business, kind of where I was at, what I was doing. I had committed to speaking at Summit. So I went just because I love Jana. I love Lori. I love HSRA. So it didn't hurt my feelings to get in my car and drive to Dallas and speak.
Yeah.
So I kind of sat in and out of sessions and thinking, okay, I don't know where I'm going to be, what's going on. All that to say, I left with not knowledge necessarily about business because yes, I did get some insight there, but I left with more life skills. I left with more, how can I take this? Because I don't know what my next step is, but I do know I'm not going to sit at home. I
Right.
do know that I'm going to incorporate myself into something great and I'm going to be something. What that is next, I don't know.
Yeah.
But how can I apply this to myself and to where my journey is going to take me next? And it was just great. I didn't regret it at all. So there's our plug for Summit. I love Summit. It's, I will sell it all day long.
Yeah. I think also, I know there's more discussion about real estate investing and short-term rentals and things like that. And that is right in my wheel wagon of where I'm headed. So I'm really excited about that whole piece as well.
Yeah, there is. I think that for those of you that have already said, okay, I'm here and I'm ready to be here, that's awesome. And I love that at Summit, I love that Jana is bringing that into the room because, like it or not, it's almost like the older generation, like my mother-in-law, my mother, they hate cell phones. They hate cell phones. They have them, but they can't keep up with the updates and the things that are happening. But like it or not, mom, this is the future, right? This is what we need and this is what we're going to have and it's not going anywhere. And so I hope that our stagers and designers come with that open mindset and they realize that we need these realtors and investors in the room because guess what? Even if you don't become one, why not be a partner with one? Like
Right.
you're closing your business circle. If you say that you don't want to be a part of this, then you're telling me that you don't even want to be open to opportunity. It doesn't mean you have to take it, but
Right.
why not be open to the opportunity?
Absolutely. Yeah.
It's mind blowing if somebody says they don't want to take part in it for that reason. I haven't had anybody say that, but all that to say, I don't want it to discourage stagers and designers, and I don't want it to discourage.
Oh, no, it's just an added bonus. It's just an added extra.
Yeah, and what realtors and investors have their own conferences, right? But what a great idea for Jana to say, you know what? I go to these realtor and investors conferences with thousands of people. She goes to market. She goes to these staging design conferences with thousands of people. And Jana's like, why are we not all in one room when we all have to use each other?
Exactly.
And
Exactly.
it's brilliant.
Yeah.
It's brilliant on Jana's part to say that. And so I hope people will find value in what we're bringing and what we're trying to do. And then I love that she's creating different breakout sessions. So if you're just for you, Kara, if you're ready to go the next level and do STR investing, you're going to have your own breakout session. And if we have a phase one stager that's just getting started, she's solo, he or she's solo, they're going to go and they're going to have their own breakout room.
Yeah,
Janice,
and they're probably going to get somewhere faster because they're learning it right from the beginning and going.
Yeah.
I wish they'd known about Gianna and HSRA 10 years ago. Would have been a lot easier. So those people are in the right room as well.
Yeah, it's going to be awesome. Sure. So before we go quickly, I just want to know what you're doing. Tell our stagers, designers, investors, what are you doing now that the market has changed? What is something your company has taken ownership of and said, okay, interest rates are up, houses are sitting longer. This is what we've implemented or something that we're looking at implementing for the rest of the year through 2023.
That's a good question. I think we're really just doing a lot more interior design because people are staying. I don't know, Dawn, if I can say like it's an intentional, what am I doing? But it's sort of by default, that's where we're getting our business from. And so we're like we're finding that's what the phone is ringing for. But it would be good to have an intentional thing that we do to that point. Yeah. We're just kind of going where the water flows the easiest, and that's interior design. Like usually when we go through our weekly meetings and we see like what's the pipeline and what interior design is smaller, maybe it's a third to 2/3. And now it's more like 50%, 50/50
Yep.
staging interior design. So I guess that would be, what we're doing.
But how brilliant is that?
And it's what we're doing anyway that's heading into this time, like not yet, it's not November, but like heading into November, December, we're always slower. So we start pushing for that stuff, opening
But
the doors again.
how brilliant is it though, Kara, that you have that? You can say, as we slow down in these months, we know that we're probably going to pick up here on this side of things. And so that again, you had that open mind and you said, okay, I'm not just going to stick with staging. I'm going to let this kind of bleed over and start the design side of things. And now that that's going strong, you're like, okay, I'm going to let this keep bleeding over. And now I'm going to start with the STR. So again, you came with an open mind, you grew with an open mind, and you continue to have an open mind in knowing that I'm not done yet. And I'm going to keep, yeah, I'm going to keep growing because we just can't, we can't count on what's going to happen next. And I think that, COVID did teach us that we're not in control, and I'm a control freak.
Right.
And that was my number one slap in the face from COVID, saying, you're not in control. Like
Right.
you need to have plan B and plan C.
Right. And I also think that being in a room with other people who've already done it or who are business leaders, there's a lot of fear around trying something new or adding a service I don't know enough about real estate investing right now, but I see some other people doing it, and okay, Jana's trying it, so she's going to explain it to me, and I won't be so afraid of it. Same thing for anything new, right? So I think there's a lot of value in any time you get together with a group of people with like-minded um, aspirations, because you can see, okay, they tried it. How did they do it? What did they, they're going to take me through what the mistakes they might have made, and then maybe I'll make less, and then I'll help somebody else as I go, and
I
it'll all
love
work out.
I love that mindset though, that you're open-minded, you're willing to grow, but you also are willing to accept, just like we all are as business owners, we're probably going to make some mistakes, but maybe not the same mistakes that our partner right next to us with HSRA made, because they're going to say, look, I did this, don't do it, don't try it.
Right.
And so
Right.
we may try a different thing. It may or may not work. But the good thing is that we grow from each other, right? We grow from the family that we formed and from listening to each other. Just like when you go to a gym, you listen to what people have tried and you don't do it because you're going to injure yourself, right?
Yeah.
And so you listen to what somebody's going to say, do this, and it's going to work well. So
Right. Right.
it's the same thing. There I go with my analogies. It's the same thing. Like
Yeah.
it's common sense.
Or like, nothing changes if nothing changes.
Mm,
That's the other one I go back to a lot. And there's an answer for everything.
yeah.
Maybe two answers,
Yeah.
right? So you could stick and stay doing the same thing, or you could take a chance.
Yep. And that's what I want. I mean, I'll kind of wrap up with that thought is when I started my business, um, I didn't have my grandson yet. I had my kids. But when they were like, Mom, why are you not doing this? Why don't you just try it? And it was that push. And for me, I would rather say I tried and failed than I never tried at all.
Right.
Because that to me shows my children and now my grandchildren that I'm willing to take that risk. I'm willing to invest in it, and I want them to see me work hard at it.
Right.
And I might not win the race, but I'm going to stay in the race.
Right. And it's a calculated risk. It's not just I'm going to go dive in. I'm
Yes.
going to learn, I'm going to research, I'm going to try to figure it out, and then I'm going to change. Then I'm going to do something
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
try.
Good stuff.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
I know this has been good. I don't want to give everybody everything we got because
Yeah.
I want them to come and be. I want them in the same room as you and I at Summit.
Yeah.
Kara.
Yeah. Y'all got to come. It's just going to be great.
It is going to be great. I'm excited, and I'm excited to meet new people and then
Mhm.
see all of my friends that I've made over the last 10 years with HSRA. So I will end on that note. I want to thank everybody for coming to our workshop Wednesday. Lori will probably be back at some point. We'll see. She may put me in charge now. So I don't know. I love Lori. She's pretty good at what she does. So,
well, thank you for having me. And I hope to see everybody, and I hope that they got some good value.
I think they did. And I will see you at Summit. Everybody at Summit.
Absolutely. You'll see me at the
Make sure
warehouse
you get
store.
your tickets.
Yeah.
Oh, yes. I'm excited.
Yeah. Wonderful.
All right.
Thank you, Dawn.
Thank you. Bye, everybody.